Hello everyone, and welcome to our Christmas Delights class, where we're going to show you this afternoon a few treats, some that you can share as gifts, some that you can have for yourselves over Christmas time. So we're going to be showing today some fudge and some chutney, shortbread, Christmas brioche wreath as well, and a few other things along the way. So we've got Kirsty, Mel, and Marie and Janine helping me today. So thank you so much for joining. And I think that, we can pretty much get started. So if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. We're going to keep our eye on that as well. This afternoon, between all of us, we'll answer your questions. All the recipes from today will be going out to you in an email form at the end of the class. So to get started today, we're actually going to go over to Janine, and she'll be starting us off with a lychee sorbet cocktail. So there's so many beautiful cocktails and drinks that we can prepare leading up to Christmas for entertaining both cocktails and mocktails too. So I'm going to spotlight Janine. Oh, you've done it. Thank you, Janine.
Hello, thank you, Leah, and welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think I got the best job ever. I'm making the cocktail to start us off. So this is a really beautiful cocktail I've been making for many years. It's actually my welcome drink on Christmas Day. And to be honest, not a big fan of lychees in general, but this recipe really is so delightfully and fresh, and especially on those, kind of quite hot, muggy summer days. Absolutely beautiful to, welcome my guests with this really gorgeous drink. So I've got it up on my Thermomix, and I'm just going to add that spotlight as well and see if that works. Beautiful. Okay, so in we go, off to our recipe. So many beautiful cocktails on Cookie Do, and when we send out the email, I'll include a couple of my suggestions. And if you have made a really beautiful cocktail in your Thermomix, please throw it into the chat now so that we can all share, because I think half of the, the battle about what to drink and what to, make for our friends and family is the inspiration. So my favorites would have to be the margarita with citrus dust, the strawberry capriosca, which of course is a beautiful red color, pomegranate mojito, again, that's a nice red one, so very Christmassy, and the minted Moscow Mule is absolutely divine as well. So heading into our lychee cocktail, we're going to press start. So like we do in a lot of the cooking classes, I have pre-prepared some of this. So what it asks you, you buy lychees in a can, and you can get them from pretty much any supermarket, although Woolworths at Ringa Mall had none at the moment. So what you need to do is you separate the syrup from the fruit as such, and they're asking you to pop it into ice cube trays and put it in the freezer, ready for the day. So that means that you can get ready way ahead of time. You don't have to be worrying about that on the day. But what I do is I actually freeze it in this very shallow tray, and I do freeze the fruit and the juice separately. And I just find it's easier that way to kind of get it into my Thermomix. So we'll have that to the side. So the first thing is we want 30 grams of sugar. So I'm just weighing that directly into the bowl. I'm just going to go with 20 grams. If you don't like a sweet cocktail, you can probably get away with no sugar in this one. And 1 sprig of fresh mint. I like my cocktail to look a little bit more green, which gives it a little bit more festive. So I'm going to go with, I don't know, probably about that much, whatever that is. But obviously you can make it to suit your taste. So asking me to pop my lid on, Then we just press next. So 10 seconds up to speed 9, and I won't be able to talk because Zoom is going to cut that out, but we're just milling the sugar and the mint together.
And sugar and mint together is absolutely beautiful. There's always a glorious smell afterwards.
I haven't even taken the lid off and I can smell it already. So I'll just give you a quick squeeze if you can see that. So just that beautiful bright green sugary mix there. So what I'm going to do is just scrape around the sides of the bowl, because as we know, it tends to spit things out to the wall a little bit. And then it's asking me to pop in my fruit, frozen fruit. Mine is kind of mostly frozen, but not rock hard, to be honest. If you want more of a slushy style, then you can have it, you know, frozen really solid. But if you want it more of like a frozen cocktail, then you can have it a little bit less. So frozen ice cubes, insert the measuring cup, and we're just going to mix this for 10 seconds. Okay, now we're going to pop in our sparkling wine. And to be honest, I forgot to open it. I was saving that so we can see all this pop together. I'm always scared about opening champagne. There's my husband when I need him. Anyway, we'll see how we go. Ooh, see, I'm scared already. Okay. Oh my God, see how scary that is? Okay, take my lid off. I need to recalibrate my scales back to 0, and we're going to pop in 400 grams of champagne. So, I mean, I wouldn't use like a really expensive champagne for this kind of drink, but, you know, something nice. I'm going to go with a little bit less. Whatever that is absolutely fine. Then we press next, and we're just going to give that a little bit of a mix. So press next. So just 15 seconds, and it's just mixing those ingredients around together. So I've got 2 glasses. I bought these cute little things in Kmart, and they were so cheap, and they absolutely look gorgeous. You know, little champagne flutes. And then I've got my kind of very traditional glasses here as well. So I'll do both so that you can see. So press next. So transfer into your glasses. So what I might do is just tilt my camera down a little bit. Sorry, I've got cords everywhere here. So just pour that into the glass. I like to throw a strawberry in there because I think that little bit of green and the red, you know, obviously looks very Christmassy. And the other thing that you could do is you could have, you know, pop a strawberry on the top if you wanted to, on the top of the glass, which does look very pretty as well. So cheers, absolutely gorgeous cocktail. What I do is I pop leftovers into my thermoserver. It keeps it, you know, icy cold so everyone can have a little bit of a top up. I think you probably have to make a few batches because when your guests and family try these, I think they'll be absolutely delighted. So which one will I try? I'll try this one. Anyway, cheers everyone, and I'll come back to you very shortly.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Janine. We are going over to Anne-Marie now for some salted caramel fudge. And I will just spotlight you. There we go.
Hello, everybody. I'm Anne-Marie, for those of you who don't know me. And first thing I want to talk to you about is actually the condensed milk. No, your camera's not entirely out of proportion. This is actually how much condensed milk I make. So this recipe makes, gosh, I think it's over a litre, which is really handy around this time of year when you're making lots of different Christmas gifts. So things like this, I think somebody said Florentines. I'm sure you guys can think of lots of other reasons that you would use condensed milk. I actually had a really quite a funny experience. I was selling Thermomixes and I was actually trying to think of ideas, think of ways that I could, increase my sales. And I was talking to a friend, and I was also talking to a friend about this new passion I'd found for fudge. I just absolutely loved making it and found all these different flavors and all this kind of stuff. And anyway, in my true style of how things come about, I walked outside, I fell over on the pavement, and this guy walked past and he said, "Are you okay? Can I help you get up?" And I said, and I just looked up at him and I said, "Oh, did you want to buy a Thermomix?" And he said, "No, I've got 4, but he said, I have a dessert restaurant and we're looking for somebody to make fudge." Anyway, I made fudge for that dessert restaurant for a couple of years. And this was actually one of the ones that I made, and it made it onto their menu. And I used to love reading the reviews because people absolutely loved the dessert that they created on this particular fudge. So I had to keep pumping out a lot of condensed milk. Now, one thing I will tell you for free is when you're using homemade condensed milk, when it says, and the recipe will say a can of condensed milk, and we instantly go 395 grams and put that in. And if you've ever tried that and found that your recipe hasn't worked out, that is probably the reason why. The actual yield of the condensed milk is about 365 grams. And if you're as determined about scraping condensed milk out of a tin, as most people are, you'll know that you can just never get it all out. So I'd say there's about 20 grams left behind, but 365 to 370 grams is the amount to put in when it calls for a can of condensed milk. Otherwise, it'll just be too wet and it'll end up being a little bit sloppy. So that said, so I'm not using guided cooking today. Here we go. Here's my guided recipe. I'll be following along. Actually, I don't think I even look at it so much these days, but I found it actually sat on my fridge for about 4 years. So I'm going to put in 365 grams of this condensed milk. How luscious is that? No more cutting your tongue, licking the can. Actually, licking a plastic container is far less dangerous. So I think from a health and safety perspective, this is a great option. I think one of the other ones that I found that was an absolute favourite by way of flavour was a spicy Mexican fudge that had cinnamon and cayenne pepper. And it's amazing. And people just don't expect it. So it's really good for those people that are cheeky and just help themselves without being offered, because they can't really hide the fact that they did actually have some. Okay, so that's about, there we go, that'll do, 367 grams. Next thing that I'll go in with is the butter. So it's just standard 125 grams of butter. Oh, I didn't reset the scales, my apologies, but trust me, I have actually weighed it, because you don't need to watch me weigh butter. And then some liquid glucose. Now, the other thing I'll show you for free is that often when people write recipes and they put, if you see something that says, say, for example, 250 grams of flour, 1 cup of flour or 250 grams, I would say use a cup first and weigh it, because the grams refers to liquid, and 250 mils of water and 250 grams of flour are not the same thing. So always use the cup first to get the gram measurement, and then from there on it is so much easier in the Thermomix. So I think I've got about And if you're a bit more organized than I am today, you can actually put spray oil on when you're using things like liquid glucose and golden syrup. If you put a bit of spray on and it just slides off the spoon rather than being this, you know, gluggy mess left on it. All right, then the golden syrup. Okay, and that is 1/4 cup, but I have already weighed that and I know that that's 100 grams. So I'm just going to use 100 grams rather than having to wash this spoon all over again.
While you're doing that, Anne-Marie, there was a question which I can't answer, and that is, can the condensed milk be made dairy-free, like with the soy milk?
Yes, I have. Yeah, so I have made condensed milk with coconut, well, it was coconut cream or coconut milk. There are definitely dairy-free options. How well they actually transfer over into, you know, conventional recipes like this, sometimes it does need those, you know, dairy and sugar element components to set. So I'd be having a look at recipes that are kind of modified for dairy-free. So yeah, but I have made it on coconut cream or coconut milk. I think Quirky Cooking has a lot of options on dairy-free ones.
There you go.
Yeah, they're definitely worth having a look at, and it was delicious. I actually gave it to a friend of mine who runs a vegan business, and she used it to make lots of different things. But she knows about that style of cooking. She knows a lot more than I do about it. So now I've got my soft brown sugar. Now again, I just make my soft brown sugar, and it's 400 grams of sugar, raw sugar or white sugar, whatever, about 40 grams of molasses, speed 4, reverse for 10 seconds, scrape down, speed 4, reverse, 10 seconds again, scrape down. The nice thing about it is you can choose, like I go 40, maybe a bit over 40 grams of molasses, and if you want it a little bit stickier, you can do that, and you can increase it so that it's you know, darker or lighter. So just that extra control. I also reduce the amount of sugar that I put in the condensed milk. And I get a lot of feedback from people when they taste my fudge and they go, I don't know what it is about it, but it just doesn't taste like others. And I just think condensed milk has that really, like from the tin, has that really cloying, sweet, just typical flavour where everything just tastes like condensed milk with a couple of other things, but this doesn't taste like that. And I think it's a wonderful option to reduce the sugar. So you will actually get the recipe as well that will be sent to you. I think the sugar that it calls for is about 600 grams. The most I would take it down by is 450 to 460 grams, or you start messing with the, you know, with the general integrity of it. And the, you know, and the structure. So I'll just make sure I've got everything in: the condensed milk, the brown sugar, glucose syrup, golden syrup, butter. Sorry, not butter. Now I am just going to cook it for, I think it's 8 minutes. I'm just going to set the time, because I know there are probably some people, if you're a TM6 user, a lot of people don't venture, or maybe haven't yet ventured that much into manual cooking. So I'm just cooking it 8 minutes, 100 degrees, speed 3.5. Okay, and now that's going to cook for about 8 minutes. Then I'll scrape it down, cook it again for 20 minutes, then put some white chocolate in, and then we'll come back and have a look at one I prepared earlier. So I'll hand over to the next person now. Thank you.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. We're going over to Janine now, and she's going to show us a caramelized red onion chutney. Let me just, Yeah.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. Hi, I've been sipping away on my cocktail, which is absolutely delightful. Okay, so I'm making a caramelized red onion chutney. There are so many beautiful jams and chutneys on Cookie Dough and the Thermomix recipe community. And to be really honest, when I bought my Thermomix 11 years ago, I thought, no, I wouldn't be making jams and chutney. I thought it was for those people that kind of were, a little bit more into cooking and that kind of thing. But of course, when you've got a Thermomix, you can make absolutely just about anything. So caramelized red onion chutney, and all we need to do is press start cooking. So I've got both screens up there. So we're just going to weigh in 25 grams of olive oil. So this recipe is going to use the high heat function, which is exclusive to the TM6 and just gives us those really kind of beautiful flavors that you would catch in a frying pan, but we can actually do it in our Thermomix. So 500 grams of red onions cut into wedges. So when they mean wedges, I just kind of did that type of thing. Because we don't want the onions to be too fine, because if they kind of cover the whole surface of the bowl and quite kind of wet, then we're not going to get that caramelization happening. So we're on 0. Sorry, I keep touching my Thermomix. 481. So that's what we're going with. And so now it's asking me for the splash guard. So that is what we are asked to put on the Thermomix when we're doing the high heat recipe. So that's your little splash guard there. It's very obvious when you need to use it, as you can see. And then we need to press done to say that we've done that. So it's pulled up 20 minutes. It's on the maximum temperature. So we're going to get, up to probably 160 degrees. And it's going to cook for about 20 minutes. So we want that kind of really beautiful caramelization happening. Then when that's finished, we're going to add some red wine vinegar and some finely chopped chili and some sugar. And then we're going to cook that for 25 minutes on Varoma, which is about 125 degrees. And then it'll be ready to come back to me. So just doing a little bit of a play with this recipe, and with any recipe that involves fruit or vegetables, there are little bits of variation in the fruit that you're using. So I'm going to show you a chili jam I make as well. And sometimes the pectin content in the fruit or the veggies can be quite high. And sometimes it's a little bit lower, which means you may need to cook it for a little bit longer to get that little bit more thicker consistency that you're after. When I cook my chili jam, I actually have the steaming basket on the top because I find that lets out even more steam. So I get a reduction and a concentration in the flavors and, the richness of the chutney underneath. So you could do it either way, but make sure you have something on the top when you're doing the cooking. And if you find it is a little bit liquidy, you could easily just kind of hit the back step on the top left-hand corner, go back and cook it for maybe another 15, 20, maybe even 25 minutes. It will just depend on how you like your chutneys and your jams, if you want them really thick. But bear in mind that it will thicken on standing. So I did make a chili jam one time, it was probably about 2 years ago, and the kids are going, Mum, I need a shovel to get the jam out of the jar. So obviously I cooked it for too long and it was really stiff. But yeah, so I'm just going to cook this now, and we'll head over to the other girls, do a little bit more cooking with them, and then I'll come back and show you the chili jam and the onion chutney at the end.
Thank you, Janine. We're going to cross over to Mel now, who is going to do some shortbread for us. Where are you now?
I am here.
Okay, let me see if I can find you, unless someone else.
I've got her.
There we go. Thanks, Kirsty. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Mel and welcome to my kitchen. Yes, I am making red and green shortbread, which is absolutely a favourite for lots of us that have a Thermomix. So we're going to, I've already made, I'm just going to bring the camera up and bring it down so you can see where we're at. So I've already made the dough. But what I'm going to show you is adding the pistachios, and in this case, I've actually used air-dried raspberries instead of craisins. Doesn't matter, red and green. So there's lots of different versions. One of the ones that I do and I hand fold them in is actually using red and green M&Ms, and they cook up a treat in the oven as well. So I've added in my craisins, in this case raspberries, and my pistachios. And the next step is to then use turbo a couple of times to mix it through. So we'll give it a go and see how we go. So that's following the recipe, and we've done it 4 times. Let's have a quick look inside the bowl and see how that's come out. And it hasn't gone all the way through. So you can see there's still some areas that haven't had the raspberries and pistachios. So we can just do that again. Look at that one. Wait for our lid. There we go. Okay, and that's actually mixed through quite a lot more into the dough. So I'm happy with that. Now, what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to take it out of the bowl, and I am going to wrap it in some Glad wrap and pop it into the fridge. But here is some we've prepared earlier. So here is red and green shortbread. It's been in the fridge. I've now got it in 3 balls together, which there's a reason for that. Now, I've done some this morning, which you'll see in the next step. But what I wanted to show you is a way to actually roll out your dough and use a cookie cutter instead of doing it in a more rough, kind of way. So by having 3 together, I'm going to be more able to actually fit the size of my cookie cutter, which is like so. So I roll it out between baking paper. You can do it with a floured rolling pin if you like. The reason that I have done it is with this particular batch, I've used gluten-free flour because I'm going to gift these. I don't need any more red and green shortbread in my house. So because I don't want to risk any cross-contamination with gluten, between the baking paper and working on the outside with the rolling pin, even though I have given it a good wash, it should kind of remove any opportunity for cross-contamination. So in the chat, why don't you pop what your favourite cookies are for Christmas? What have you tried? What are different ones that appeal to you? Are there any questions on handling the dough or ingredients? Really, with things like this, it is as much about choosing your ingredients to match the people that you're giving them to. One other way that you can gift this particular recipe is you can put all the dry ingredients into a jar, and you can send it with an instruction about how to add the wet ingredients and how they can make it themselves. All right, so let's see how we're going. All right, we're not quite there. One more, I think, will be done. So, of course, you can do these by the spoonful. You can do them in squares. You could do a big tray of it and cut them up. There's really no right or wrong way at all. And then you pop your cookie cutter over the top. And I'm going to press down, press down through. There we go. And what we end up with is our beautiful round cookies. Now, with these cookies, I'm going to pop them into the freezer, and I'm going to freeze them for 10-15 minutes before I actually put them into the oven. The reason for that is it actually stops the spread and keeps them quite neat and circular for later. Now, just pop this out the way for a moment, because here's some I prepared earlier. Now, these ones were not at all done with a cookie cutter. They were done by hand. But what I did do is I rolled the cookie dough into a log, so a bit like the rolling pin, and I wrapped it in Glad wrap, and they can be frozen until you want to use them. One of the benefits of that, obviously, is they're round. So when you cut them up, you can do them as thick as you like or as thin as you like. And I'm going to show you some different ways that you can then present them. So over here, I have one of the handy disposable, what are they called? Disposable piping bags from the mix shop. And I have melted some white chocolate in the Thermomix and I've poured it into the glass. Now you might wonder why I'm doing it this way. Well, there's two. The first one is one of the ways to present this dish, if I get a second bowl, or second plate, sorry, is to actually dip the cookie into the chocolate. Now, rather than creating more washing up, you can simply do half of your cookies like so. I'm going to pop them straight down onto the plate. And yes, my mouth is watering while I make these because they are super delicious. And they do keep really well as well. So I'll do some this way. Like so. And then once you're finished with your dipping, you'll simply take your bag out, squeeze it down so that it comes down into the tip. With your handy Thermomix scissors, you'll snip off the bottom. And then for the next lot, make a bit more off. Never quite sure how far up to go. You can then, burst out the side. That's not handy. Okay, we'll work with it and we'll drizzle over the top. I've never had that happen before. There we go, in a cooking class, outstanding. But you can see what I was going for. There we have.
It still looks pretty
cookies,
nice.
2 ways. Oh, look, if it was going to happen, it would happen in class, right? Anyway, cookies, 2 ways with burst icing piping bags. And I'll be back a little bit later after I've recovered from my burst piping bags to show you some more chocolate work. So we'll pass over now.
Thanks,
I'll be
Mary.
back.
Thank you for that. Let me just get my other one on there. Thank you. Now continue. I was going to just do my screen if I can find it, but it doesn't really matter, does it? Because I'm going to do this a bit quicker than I thought. So we're going to do, I'm actually presenting today the spiced cherry brioche wreath. It's a really beautiful one, easy to make. Thank you, Janine. Really beautiful one, easy to make, and it is, let me just put it on. Easy to make because it's just your brioche and then your beautiful spice mix, which you make as well. So I've already done the first bit, which is warming up some milk and the yeast and the sugar. And then, of course, the next stages is, adding in your butter, some unsalted butter, some salt, and then basically getting it kneaded. So I've got everything ready, and I'm going to pop that on to knead, even though I've got some to show you. Let's just follow through with this step, make sure we got it right. Yes, got the salt, then we're adding in our flour, 650 grams. So it's quite a nice size. I have actually halved this recipe before and made a small one if you didn't want to make a large one, but it's beautiful large. So let me just look that one. And then we've got 1 egg for our brioche. And then we put on the lid, and that's going to knead. It actually wants to mix before it kneads, but I'm just going to go straight to the kneading. And then we rest that for 1 hour. And while it's resting, after it's resting, this is what it looks like. This is just been resting just over an hour for me. And this is it, just bringing it together. Now we're going to divide this dough in half and we are going to plait it. So, whoopsie. And of course, I'm using my thermomat. So when you're using a thermomat, if you are going to cut it in half, please use a spatula or a dough cutter or something like that, not a knife, because you don't want to tear through it. So I'm going to divide my...
Sorry, Leah, you might want to move away from your Thermomix a bit. It's just hard to hear you.
Thank you. I was going to ask if it's too noisy because I know Zoom does mute it. Thank you. All right, so here's my dough, and I'm going to open it out 2 sheets, around about 50 by 20, and then I'm going to put in my spice, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do that actually, because it's really beautiful and nice and easy to make any sort of Christmas type spice in your Thermomix. You can use it as a rub on your food, on your meat. You can use it, you know, making scrolls, making breads and things like that. So because I have a second bowl, I'm just going to grab that. There we go. And of course, we can get a second bowl when you purchase a Thermomix for only an additional $29, which is really good. Okay, so here we go. Everything goes in. We've got sugar. Have I got my sugar? Here it is. It's all here. I've got it all prepared. So I've got some sugar, some star anise. I have some cinnamon, cardamom, and it smells beautiful. I've got some whole cloves in there. So in it all goes, and that is the joy of the Thermomix, being able to mill all those beautiful spices. So we don't have to buy them all ground. Oh, there was nutmeg in there as well. So nutmeg, cardamom, cinnamon quills, star anise, cloves, and then we put the lid on top. Thank you. And we mill that up. So next, oops, just for 20 seconds. So it's really good. And that smells absolutely beautiful. So now I'm just going to open up my pastry, and I'm going to pop some on top, along with some cherries. I've got some fresh cherries, some cranberries, and some almond flakes as well. So just opening that up, and the beautiful thing about the Thermomats, which you can get as a host reward as well, it does have a little measuring, you know, little measuring band along the bottom and along the side, so you can actually measure it. Not that it really matters. Guesstimating is fun too. So just opening that up. All right. There we go. Then we divide our spice, which absolutely smells really beautiful. So there it is there. It smells absolutely gorgeous. So what we're going to do is transfer it into a bowl. I'm just going to pop mine back in this one. And then we're going to divide it up. So we're going to save some for later on, and we're going to use some now. So it wants me to save about 3 tablespoons. So I'm going to sprinkle some of this on now onto my one plait. So these are for my plaits. This is for my second plait. So it wants me to set aside about 3 tablespoons for later on, and that's to sprinkle on top later on. So put that aside, and then I press next and preheat the oven. And it actually tells you, whoops, sorry, beg your pardon, it actually shows you what to do. So I've already done that. So next is putting on my almonds, I've got some slithered almonds. I'm just putting those on. So you could all mix them all together, but I've actually got them separate. And some, it just tells you to put a bowl on top and weigh it. So some cranberries, so on they go, and some fresh cherries, which are absolutely gorgeous. Now, there was one time, because I do make this often, every year actually, that I couldn't get fresh cherries, and I had some dried ones, and they do work well as well. But I'm just going to grab my fresh ones, which are here. So fresh cherries, I've just pitted them. You can actually get them on the mix shop. You can get them from, you know, a lot of the house stores, but the ones on the mix shop are great. You can get the de-seeder, I think is that what it's called? Pitter. The pitter, thank you very much. Yes, that's the one. Where you just sort of pop your cherry in there. You can use it for olives as well, and you just yeah, give it a little poke and it comes out, and that's available on the mix shop. Oh, here we go. So this is what it looks like. It's really cool, and it's really easy, so you don't have to sit there and cut them up. So love this on Cookie Dough, that it actually shows you what to do. So I've got some more dry cranberries and cherries and flaked almonds, which I've already followed the recipe, but I'm actually going to show you now how to roll it up. So we're going to roll it up so that we can make these plats. And this is definitely worth making. It's absolutely beautiful. It looks really pretty on the table as well. And it's very yummy. And the flavor is absolutely gorgeous too. So there's one, and then we've got another one. Just bring that one around and together. And shaping that into a log. There we go. And then we bring the two together now, and we just attach them at the top. Oopsie, I've got some that's kind of fallen out there. We'll just bring it together. There we go. So now we do the plat. And you can add some, yes, absolutely, you could do that too. Custard would be amazing. All right, so creating this beautiful plat. So just, whoopsie, I've lost some in that one, but that's okay. And just twisting it like so. And it's okay if it, you know, comes apart a little bit and cracks. It's all rustic and nice. So there we go. Let's press next, and then it will tell us to do this. Bring it together into a round. Don't know if you can you see that there? Yes. And like I said, it actually does look beautiful. So there's our plat. She's doing it much nicer than I did it, but you know, still looks great. Sealing the ends together. Then we're going to put some butter on it. I've got a little bit of butter here, which I've just had out of the fridge, so it's nice and softened. So we're just going to pop some butter on there, and then sprinkle it as well with a little bit more of our cranberries, our cherries, our slithered almonds, and some of that beautiful spice mixture as well. So that will help it to stick on as well. And here it is. So I've got some of my spice mixture, and sprinkle some of that. And this is really nice to dust on top, you know, after it's finished as well. Then we've got some more. So I've got some slithered almonds and cranberries and fresh cherries as well. Or you could even put some more fresh cherries on afterwards. It's up to you. And I'm actually going to pop this straight in the oven with my oven mat to cook, and we'll come back later on and I'll show you the end result, which is absolutely beautiful. Alrighty. And who's up next? We're crossing over now to Mel. Thank you.
All right. My pleasure. Okay, so we're doing the chocolate and anise fruit bark. Not only do I have 2 bowls, I'm very blessed to have 2 Thermomixes. So what I'm going to do in the recipe is we're going to jump down to where it asks us to put the chocolate. So 400 grams of dark chocolate broken into pieces. Now I'm actually using Calibo Callets. That's perfect as well. So there's that one. Where's the other bag gone? Okay, let me just grab those extra ones that are hiding. Why is it they always hide? You think you've got it under control and then they're hiding. All right. So you could do a half batch of this if you wanted to. I think we choose no here. I've got 3 teenage boys who'll make light work of this, I should say. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to chop them just to break them down. Then I'm going to melt them on the other machine. So we're going to jump out of this recipe and we're actually going to chop them for 10 seconds on speed 8. Zoom jumped in there and muted me for that one because that was quite loud. Okay, so if we have a quick look, that's our chocolate milled, and it will make it super easy to go over and melt that now. So I'm just going to put this on over here. Give me 1 second. And with melting of chocolate or tempering of chocolate, we want it at 50 degrees. So that keeps it nice and pliable. It'll keep that beautiful bright luster that we'll use as well. So now we're going to jump back, go into our recipe detail, and we're going to start at the beginning. So I have lined a baking tray. This is actually a Wilshire patterned bottom. And so using the blunt side of a knife, I already put the paper through it, pushed into it, so that when the chocolate goes in, on the bottom of the chocolate, we'll have that beautiful pattern. Okay, so now we're adding in 10 grams of the aniseed seeds. Now, can I just tell you, I'm not a huge fan of licorice, so I'm only putting 5 grams in. If it's not a flavour that you like, guess what? You can swap it out. You could even use the beautiful doTERRA oils, maybe peppermint oil instead, or even maybe the aniseed oil. So lots of different options that you can actually use. Now we're going to mill these for 20 seconds on speed 9. They won't be quite so loud. So while that's going, we're going to have a look at the other ingredients. So we can do that by jumping into the recipe detail and just moving down. So we've got dried cherries or cranberries, dried apricots, and roasted cashew nuts. They're all going in together next. So now, once that's finished, we can tap on the top of the screen and it takes us back into where we are in the recipe. Now it's going to ask us to put those star anise seeds away. I'm actually going to add those. 10 grams of that is actually going to go into the chocolate that's melting. So I'll do that in a moment. Okay, then we're going to go next. Okay, so we're going to put the 1 teaspoon of the ground anise seeds away for later. And then we're going to transfer the rest into a sealable container. I actually put mine in the freezer. That way it doesn't go off or anything like that. Okay, 70 grams of dried cherries or dried cranberries. Well, in the spirit of using what I've got in the cupboard, we're actually going with organic freeze-dried strawberries in this one. So we've got 70 grams, or 76 as it turns out, but that's all that's left, so it's kind of handy. We're going to put 70 grams of dried apricots in. Now, if these are ingredients that you don't use all the time, you can always throw them into a Ziploc bag in the freezer. They don't lose their consistency and they don't go off, and they also don't attract any of those pantry moths that we all absolutely hate. Put that in. The speed 7. This is one of those really noisy recipes. I do apologize. I'm going next. I think it's exacerbated by the fact that I'm standing over it with headphones in. All right, transfer to a bowl and set aside. Now, if it's not chopped the way you'd like it chopped, you can just chop it again. So again, small chopping amounts so that we don't go too far. All right, now we've got our roasted salted cashews. I'm quite a fan of salted cashews, I have to say. But again, you could use any ingredients you like. So with Christmas around, we've got lots of things like candy canes. Candy canes are fabulous if you smash them with your, you can either put them in a Thermomix or you can smash them with a rolling pin, and they can go on the top of anything like that as well. Chop these 4 seconds. Okay. Then it says rinse and dry the mixing bowl. Now, rinsing and drying the mixing bowl was because we were going to be chopping our chocolate and putting it on to melt. But let's have a quick look. Just going to interrupt what it's doing on the other machine. We're down to 20 seconds. Oh, and it's coming on an absolute treat. So I'm just going to scrape down the sides of the bowl. Just move the camera just a little bit. Oopsies, not that far. There we go. Don't want to lose any of this chocolate. This time of year, there's lots of chocolate, different things being made. And I've actually started playing around with a chocolate gingerbread mold or gingerbread house. I'm using the gingerbread mold from the mix shop. And I've got one in the freezer, just getting it to seeing how that's going to go. When I put the chocolate into it, I'll post videos to see, but just something different for Christmas Day. So I've added some aniseed in. I'm now just going to give it, it won't need too long just to get those final bits done. So I'll just keep an eye on that while we get everything else ready, because we're going to pour it out into the prepared tray, and then we're going to put all of our ingredients on top. Now, I'm actually also going to add to that the melted chocolate disaster from our disposable piping bags, and I'm just going to drizzle that over the top. I see no reason to waste that chocolate at this point in time, and not all the boys are home. All right, so let's have a quick look. I think we're done. Okay, here we go. This is just always, let's just, there we go. Can we see? Here comes the chocolate. Now into this recipe, you can also add a tablespoon of coconut oil. And what it does, it just makes the chocolate a little bit more, pliable at this point in time. But I actually don't, well, I don't use it for a start, but it does make chocolate a little bit easier to work with. It doesn't set quite so quickly, so it gives you some more time if you're not used to working with chocolate to get things done. And of course, with the chocolate left over in the bowl, there has to be a hot chocolate coming shortly. I think that's the universal requirement if you have a Thermomix, that when you're using chocolate, you make yourself a hot chocolate afterwards. So I'm just pushing this out as close to the edges as I can. Might have to arrange a catch up with Anne-Marie and swap some chocolate fudge with some, caramel fudge with some chocolate bark. And then we just get our ingredients that we chopped up before. We're just going to throw them on top, like so. Pop it in the fridge, and then once it's set, you can crack it into bark, so to speak. So this is going to be quite thick, but it was specifically for a gift. So when I chop it, it's going to be more, I guess, like I've done it in in the molds that we can use for snack bars, which is another way that you can actually do this dish. Ready for Christmas. And you can just cut it, put it in some plastic bags, and away you go. So there is our chocolate bark. I'm going to drizzle some white chocolate over it. But I'll see you at the end when it's all chopped up and ready to present for Christmas. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Mel. That looks absolutely gorgeous. And it's so nice to be able to make your own chocolate as well. We're going to cross over to Kirsty now. And she has got some rosemary salt to make for us with the fresh rosemary from her garden.
Well, actually, we've done a quick sketch of some recipes, and I'm going to be making the British spice rub because the salt was just rosemary and salt. So very, very simple. Do have a look in Cookie Doo at the Festive Flavour collection or cookbook. If you have an older model Thermomix, you might even have the hard copy of the cookbook. There's some beautiful spice rubs and different salts that you can make in there. But today I'm going to make the British spice rub because it's a little bit more interesting. And this makes a really nice gift. So we're just going to click start cooking. Now, first ingredient is it wants the zest of half an orange and a whole lemon. So here's a little tip for you. Anytime that a recipe calls for the zest of lemon or orange or lime, if you can get organised in advance, really shallow peel with your veggie peeler to get the nice shallow zest, and then pop it on some paper towel and just leave it on the bench to dry out. If you don't have the time to leave it to dry, put another piece of paper towel over the top to sort of block the oil out of your citrus zest. So there you go, mine's just been sitting on the bench for a couple of hours and that's nice and dried out. It's less likely to sort of stick to the edge of the bowl then when you're milling it. So I'm just going to pop all of that in there. I wish you could smell this. Oh, beautiful. And I'm actually using a blood orange just because that was what I had. 4 fresh bay leaves. So they're going in, actually mine are dried bay leaves. They're going in. All pepper berries. So I bought these from Harris Farm. They can be a little bit tricky to find. They're little tiny and they smell amazing. They're also, I think, called pimento. Doesn't say that there, but I think that was what was on the packet. All spice pimento berries. So 4 of those. They're quite a strong flavour. Or you can use a teaspoon of ground allspice. Some fennel seeds. The rest of my jar, I need to buy some more of those. And 20 grams of sea salt. So I've got my 20 grams ready to go here, and also in my jar here, I've got my cinnamon quill, my little bowl, and I've also put the 3 pinches of ground cloves. So that's just in there with the salt ready to tip in together. So we're just going to quickly mill that, and that was a whole, you know, the pepper berries and the cinnamon bark. Thermomix makes really short work of that. So just 10 seconds on speed 9. We need a new version of Zoom that allows you to smell as well. This is absolutely delicious. I might just show you what that looks like. Oh, it says to scrape it down, but sometimes you can just give the bowl a good bang. I'll try and do this without tipping it everywhere, but if you can see that, actually that's not really working very well, but I can still see the yellow and the orange from the zest, and you've got little bits of the bay leaves in there as well. So we've scraped that down, I've given it a good bang, and we're just going to give that another 10 seconds. So going in next with some fresh herbs. So it's asking for a couple of sprigs of fresh rosemary and also some fresh thyme from my garden. So I've just stripped that off the stalks, and that's going in there together. I will just give the bowl a bang. There we go. It's pretty robust. It's all good. Yep, the thyme has gone in there. Now, half a whole nutmeg. I don't know if you've ever tried to chop a nutmeg in half. I'm actually just going to use the 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. If it was a whole nutmeg, you can totally throw that in the Thermomix and that will just grind that all together. But trying to cut one in half to only put half one in there, impossible task. So just going to use the pre-ground stuff. And now another 130 grams of sea salt. So this is a beautiful spice rub that you can use on any of your meats. It also makes a really lovely gift. So you could pop this into some little jars on your table as gifts for your guests to take home. 10 seconds and I'll show you what you can do with them. So check out your local variety stores or $2 stores, whatever you call them. I think these ones were actually from Kmart. They're 120 mils. They're a nice little size for this sort of, spice rub or the rosemary salt that we talked about before. You can also, in the Festive Flavour Cookbook, there's another recipe for porcini mushroom salt. So you can just buy your little dried porcini mushrooms and grind those with your salt as well. Again, beautiful on any of your roast meats or, for the barbecue. I like these little jars. These are great for jams and things as well, lemon butter. So just, have a look around. There's lots of cutesy little jars. I think these were about $2 each. Like, they're not expensive. The other thing that you can do with these sort of spice rubs is if you've got like a packaging outlet place near you, I know depending on where you are in Sydney, there's a great place in Hornsby where you can get maybe 100 or 200 of these little bags. And these are really good, if you've made quince paste or some of the chocolate bark or fudge, you can do up some little gift bags. You can buy rolls of these different coloured ribbons really cheap and have these as little gifts. So teachers, if you're wanting to put together a little hamper of homemade stuff for the teachers as well. I'm sure the teachers get all sorts of interesting gifts at the end of the year. I mean, they've really had a very different year this year, teaching everybody online. So this smells absolutely amazing. You can then just pop this into one of your little jars. And again, I really wish you could smell this. So I'm just going to pop a little bit in there so it's a bit easier for you to see what it looks like. Don't forget to include a little gift tag on there so they know what to do with it and they know it's not, a body scrub. My daughter actually came in and she said, "Oh, what are you prepping to make?" And when I said a British spice rub, she thought it was for rubbing on your body. So make sure they know it's edible, not a body rub. So if you can see, I've just put a little bit in there. You've got the beautiful little flecks of colour in there. Absolutely delicious and lots of things that you can do with that. So check out spice rubs in Cookie Do. Lots of different things that you can make really quick. That was 30 seconds in total of milling. Christmas Warehouse in Alexandria. Yeah, you can probably get all sorts of cutesy little jars and tags and things. Another great thing for something like those shortbread cookies that Mel made, you can make up a cookie jar with the ingredients in there in the layers and they can bake it themselves. Even easier.
Awesome.
The next speaker.
Thank you so much, Kirsty. And as Kirsty was saying, yes, you can make your your spice rubs and as well as things like jams. I've got some beautiful blueberry jam, which, doesn't take very long to make, strawberry jam, really nice, quick, easy, and gorgeous for Christmas gifts, as well as infused oils. Again, really quick and easy in the Thermomix. Just pop it on after dinner one night and you come back to some beautiful infused oils. We're going to scan around and check out everyone's final results of their product. We'll go to Janine. Can we have a look at your chutney? Did you show us your chutney?
No, I haven't showed you the chutney yet. It's still cooking away here, but that's okay because I did prepare one earlier. So this one I actually only cooked for the allotted time. Is that I think I lost you there. Okay, here I am back again. So this chutney was cooked for the allocated time and it has thickened up quite nicely, just being once it's finished cooking. So, add a little bit of cooking time on. I did cook it without the without the splash guard on. I actually use the steaming basket. But and as Kirsty said again, you know, cute little jars that you can make up gifts for. I'm going to a friend's 60th birthday tomorrow, and I'm going to take a jar of the chutney for him and just give that as a little gift along with my other gift. But the other thing that you can do is obviously the chili jam is pretty awesome. I think there is one on Cookie Doo, but this recipe is off the Thermomix recipe community, and I'll share that with you on the email. But essentially, what have we got in there? Chilies, brown onion, garlic, raw sugar, lime, fish sauce, and white wine vinegar. And I actually cooked that for about 40 minutes. There's probably about 15 large chilies in there. If you don't want it hot, de-seed your chilies. If you don't mind a little bit of a kick, I think you can see I did not de-seed my chilies, but we all smash it here, so we don't have a problem with that. So what can you do with chutneys? I mean, beautiful on roasts and all that kind of thing. You can use it for, you know, having cheese and crackers. So I would probably have a couple of little dishes and, you know, trays of different cheeses. I think any vintage cheddar, it would work really well, or a cream cheese. The other thing that you could do is use toasted Turkish bread and pop some blue cheese on the top of there with a dollop of either the chili jam or the caramelized onion chutney. But I can't tell you, I actually never made this chutney before, but the flavors on it are absolutely incredible. Both of these jams have quite a bit of sugar in it, which just really helps pull those amazing flavors through. But is it bad to eat chutney straight off a spoon? Anyway, it's so delicious and great for a little gift, and great for on the Christmas table and for entertaining over the next few weeks or any time of the year, really. So thanks for me. Hope you enjoyed a little bit of chutney, and the cocktail was amazing as well.
Thank you, Janine, and it looks gorgeous. And yes, it is okay to have a treat every now and then, especially at Christmas time. And let's cross over to Anne-Marie so she can show us her beautiful little treat, her salted caramel fudge. Let's find, here you are, Anne-Marie.
Yep. Okay, so there's some I prepared earlier, just on the board. I don't know if you can see that. Am I spotlit, or are you, Leah?
Yes, I think you are, but let me just...
Okay, great. No, that's all right. I don't need to see big me, only you need to see big me. I'm happy with me the size I can see me. So that's that. This is the one that I just poured that I was making. Hang on, what I will do is actually lift up the iPad, take Muhammad to the mountain rather than the mountain to Muhammad. Okay, if you can see that. No, probably not really. Hang on.
Yum.
See? What I would say is when you're, after the fudge cooks and then you pour it into the tin, let it cool a bit before you put the salt on top, because otherwise what happens is that it just completely dissolves. So let it cool a bit first for about 10-15 minutes. The beautiful thing about the automatic shutdown on the Thermomix, you know, when that 15 minutes has passed, put the salt on, and then I just lightly tap it with the back of the spoon, because otherwise the first bit that you have, you know, or basically when you eat it, all the salt just falls off, which is, you know, which is really disappointing. And this is the rest of the block. In terms of how you present it, how I present it for Christmas, I'm actually really tight, and I don't give Christmas gifts. I do sell them to other people to make. And just as a case in point, here are the tags that we got for the TM31, our little Christmas gift tags made in my Thermomix. It's unopened. So look, if anybody wants some Thermomix Christmas gift tags with a TM31 retro, these won't last long. Let me know, and I can send them to you, but they're amazing. Other than that, I do share it with people. I share it with you know, people that I work with, and we play, or I play that game with friends, you know, close your eyes and open your mouth, and you know, basically give it to people that way. And other than that, my family are in far north Queensland, and they will often ask me when the temperature cools down a bit to send it to them. Every time I go there, I have to take my Thermomix with me so that I can actually make it as well. They, you know, I say I'm coming, and they go, "Great, you're making fudge." That's all they want to know. So yeah, it's more an experience than any kind of delicate gift giving tips that I've got for you. But yes, it's definitely very well received in the spirit of things. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Absolutely gorgeous. Thank you. And thank you for all those tips as well. Let's cross over now to Mel so she can share with us her, oh, did we see the final product of your bark? Have you got it ready there?
We'll see that in just one second. So let's just have a quick look at how I box up the cookies. So I've got the cookies ready to go. Just to show that I'm not completely useless with piping bags, here are some little hollies that I piped earlier. So pop them on, pop the lid on the box. I actually got these years ago. A bit like Anne-Marie, I can't even remember when I got the boxes, but it's deciding not to go on.
Oh, they're gorgeous, Mel.
So, oh, look. Bursting bags, bursting boxes. There we go. And we're on. Almost one edge. There we go. So there is our cookies gift with some edible holly to go with it. Now, I piped up with that, it's a hot chocolate on a stick. So as a Christmas gift, you've got cookies and a hot chocolate. But let's just grab that bark directly out of the fridge. So the one we just made is still setting, but here's one we prepared earlier. Now this is the chocolate bark, and I've actually added smashed candy canes. And so all you're going to do is either cut through it like so, you can actually hear it, or if I'm really, really quiet, you might be able to hear the crack. So that's the alternative, is you can crack it like so. As Kirsty was saying, you can buy plastic bags super cheap from lots of places, including the $2 shops all over the joint. So no shortage of those. And then you can just pop it into your bag or a box or a jar, or any, you know, versions thereof. I don't have any TM31 because I think I actually gave them away, Anne-Marie, to be honest. Package them up like so, put a ribbon on it, not a ring, and there we go. There are our Christmas delights 2021.
Oh, that's absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much, Mel.
That is my absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me along today. And
now we will come across and have a look at, let me just see if I can do this one. You can have a look at the wreath. And here it is. And like I was saying earlier, you can dust it because there's a little bit of that beautiful you know, spice left over. You can just sort of give it another sprinkle. You could add, you know, on your platter, you know, you might serve it on a beautiful platter for Christmas and just put some fresh cherries around it and a little bit more you know, slivered almonds and cranberries, but it really is a beautiful one. It's such a nice one. I'll just slice it and I'll show you what it looks like on the inside, because it's just gorgeous. And like Mel, I think it was Mel that suggested that you could have it with custard as well and have custard inside. That would be absolutely delightful. I probably didn't cut the best bit here, but you can see that there is some cranberry in there. and some cherries. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you to our beautiful presenters who presented such beautiful ideas that we can go out there and cook for Christmas, whether it's for treats or just, you know, something delightful for us to have. So thank you so much, Mel, Kirsty, Janine, Anne-Marie. I appreciate your time so much. Thank you for presenting. Thank you everyone for coming along, and have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas. And like I said, I know it's still a month away or so, we will be sending out an email with the recipes from all the dishes from today, from everything that we presented today. So thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Leah. Thanks, girls. Oh, I'm so inspired as always. Love it. Does anyone have any questions that they might like to throw at us before they hop off?